All right. Mini trailer roundup this week. We got Ben Affleck and Matt Damon starring in a new trailer, the first trailer for the Ben Affleck directed Air, which is going into the basketball shoe industry, the signing of Michael Jordan, the catapulting Nike into the shoe game that they have been dominating since the 80s. Most recently, you have Phil Knight sitting courtside, LeBron James setting like the points record, passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The only one in that picture, by the way, without a camera. Did you notice that, Ricky Flex?
I did. I did.
The only one. I think literally the only one in the entire place that did not have their camera out. And it's because he witnessed it all. He saw it from the get go. He signed this guy. He's like, you know what? I am synonymous with this guy's success. So good for Phil Knight. Lucky bastard, right? This film releases April 5th in theaters. What are your takeaways from this first look of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's reunion here?
It's hard not to get by that reunion aspect of this because you just want this to be great, right? Affleck looks like he's having fun acting wise, similar to the last duel. That's what I
Oh,
got.
yeah.
I got out of him on this. He's in his bag and he might be a scene stealer. I think Matt Damon, it looks like he's also like, I think it's been low key. Like since Ford versus Ferrari, he's been doing pretty well on an acting standpoint. Going to be an Oppenheimer this year. I didn't watch Stillwater, but critically, a certified fresh movie, like shocking. And Viola Davis looks like she's really crying here. She looks like she's giving it her all.
You had a take there, Ricky.
It looked like she was like going like I'm not saying this was like kind of like dipping my hand in the water. Viola Davis like looking like she's giving her all, like she's going for an Oscar.
Say it with your chest, Ricky, because I don't think you're wrong necessarily.
Like it looks like seriously, the music dies down when she's talking, and it's very serious and emotional, and protecting her kid, right? Playing Michael Jordan's mother. It sounds like or looks like to me that's like, hey, she's arguably the best actress in Hollywood right now, and she's giving it 100%. That means Oscars aren't out of the question, even though it's an April movie, which gives me caution, obviously, for an Oscar. But just from the trailer alone, she looks like she's gonna give it a great shift.
So, couple takes here, Ricky Flex. This is also giving off Ford versus Ferrari vibes. Very much so. It looks very similar. You got the 1-2 dynamic. You had Bale and Damon. Now you got Affleck and Damon. You're not off base with an Oscar prediction necessarily because you got two Oscar darlings here with Damon and Affleck, you know? And after we saw from this year with Everything Everywhere All at Once coming out at the time it did, movies have staying power now. It's not as much about releases. So I'm not willing to rule that out of the question yet, but to focus more specifically here, I think this trailer stood out because of who it didn't show, and that is obviously Michael Jordan. And I have a prediction, Ricky Flex. Michael Jordan is going to be de-aged in this movie because he is not. Michael Jordan will be de-aged in this movie because he was not shown in the trailer. They're not done with finalizing this movie. And you can't show his parents without having Michael Jordan somewhat in a scene. I think he's going to be in this movie in some capacity. And maybe they're not willing to show the actor, but I think it's because of the technology they want to finalize and make perfect before it is seen. And it's almost like that major cameo that you are riding on. You can't have this movie without showing Michael Jordan's face. What do you think about that take?
That is wild. I would have never guessed that. That sounds like something LeBron would do, like in 30 years, saying like, I don't want anyone to play me. I could do it. DH.
Michael Jordan's the same way, though.
I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if he's like that. I don't know. But
the way they even said Michael Jordan's in this name, where they said, we're riding on this one kid. He hasn't played an NBA game. What's his name? And they say Michael Jordan, the way they did. It holds weight. They don't want to reveal Michael Jordan yet. So maybe I'm just saying they have a choice to make here, whether you cast someone to play Michael Jordan or you de-age him. This is film life in 2023.
So to help you out here,
help me.
I'm adding evidence to your case. They didn't show Michael Jordan in this trailer. Not even highlights. All right. That actually might hurt you because they don't show highlights. That means they might use like Michael Jordan highlights, but with an actor. Sorry, didn't mean to throw shade at you. But at the end of the trailer, they showed the back of Michael Jordan. And I will say, I was going to make a comment. It didn't look that good. Like the back of his head and like it didn't look like totally real. Like, so it might be de-aging. To help you out there in your argument, and also on the IMDb page for this movie, they don't have a Michael Jordan casting. Unlike a movie that we just like all the biopics we've been doing.
Pointing to me, dude. Signs are pointing to
They
Dr.
are. So besides the highlights, if they show like Michael Jordan highlights, like the actual Michael Jordan in this trailer, I think that's like, holy crap. I am with you because we're brothers, not only on this podcast, but in real life. I will die on this take with you. But if they showed actual highlights of the real Michael Jordan in this trailer of like Matt Damon when he plugs in the tape and it's actually Michael Jordan, not like an actor playing him and playing basketball, like we see in Winning Time, I'll be like, okay, holy crap, this is real.
I will say the times that we've seen de-aging be successful in anything, whether it be the MCU, Star Wars, whenever, Irishman, it's when it's used sparsely. And I think Michael Jordan is not the centerpiece of this story, right? But he obviously plays a huge role in this story. And it's more of a focus on the people in the background making this like deal happen. So you only need him for a select number of scenes. And that's why I think de-aging might be also implemented here. Any other thoughts on that before I jump into the cast here? Because it's pretty electric.
Yeah, before we jump in, I guess I'll just name one more thought here. I think you're right as well, because it's limited screen time for Michael Jordan. You're probably only going to use him for that one scene in the office, that last pitch where Matt Damon's probably going to have quote unquote Oscar moment where he'll be like, this is why you joined Nike, right? And it'll be emotional, it'll be like yada yada yada. That will be, I think, when, and it's also less acting, right? Like all he has to do is nod, maybe ask one question or two. The real Michael Jordan, who's not an actor, obviously, we've seen Space Jam. He could handle that. Anybody can. A few takes. So I think it could work. And then finally is budget-wise. That will be the most expensive part of this budget. But if this budget's not covering like actual basketball being played in person, it's just behind the scenes, then you're just paying the actors and the actual office time, the actual production time, right? The sets. So low budget movie, you could pay with a Ben Affleck run movie. You'll get the money if you want it, the budget if you want it to get this de-aging for 5 minutes.
And this is connected to like the studio that Affleck and Damon kickstarted, and they're releasing it alongside Amazon too. So this is the second Amazon we've mentioned during this Amazon shout out, I guess you can say it, regarding this episode. I want to go to the cast here. Okay, because like Affleck kind of transforming into Phil Knight here. He's got the hair going on, right? He's got the license plate and everything.
Sunglasses.
Matt Damon's still playing himself. Like it's the same thing where it's like almost like The Last Duel, like you brought up previously. But let's go over, like you brought up Viola Davis, but alongside is Chris Tucker. Chris Tucker is the supporting role in here. When's the last time you saw Chris Tucker in a goddamn movie? Jason Bateman, Marlon Wayans in a serious movie. I think Jason Bateman, when I saw him here, he is almost, and this is where it comes into like the Ford versus Ferrari comparison. He is the John Bernthal, right, of this movie, in my opinion. And he's going to be like the likable dude. He's going to be on the side of like a Damon and Affleck. And he seems like Bateman, it's obviously coming off Ozark. He's like opportunity to get back into the film game. I love this for him. But it's like, to me, like the supporting characters other than Viola, like who's obviously a name in and of herself, like obviously playing the mom of Michael Jordan, that's a big deal. Salt in her shoes, right? Salt in his shoes. Ever read it? Chris Tucker and Marlon Wayans. When's the last time we saw these? Like two iconic comedic actors, but also given an opportunity by Affleck and Damon here.
Chris Tucker, Silver Linings Playbook.
Good in that movie. Good in that movie.
Good in that movie. Marlon Wayans, like you're thinking like, oh God, Haunted Mansion 2. I don't know. What Marlon
Scary
Wayans?
movie? Scary
Oh
movie?
yeah, that's a long time ago. Marlon Wayans.
But when's the last time they were relevant? Yeah, like this is like him
Oh
and his
yeah.
all his brothers. Like this is like a good opportunity for them because they haven't done much and it's a supporting role. It's not like you gotta like real I think it's an attractor to go watch this movie. Not only do you have Affleck and Damon, but like in their era, these were actors that were popular, like Chris Tucker and Marlon Wayans. Like it's just like it's perfect. And I love that Affleck's also taking a back seat for this movie. Like Matt Damon's clearly the star of this movie. Affleck in a very flashy supporting role, but still directing. Like the recipe for this movie looks to be successful. And the concept, it's exciting. When you have Michael Jordan involved in the concept of a movie, people are going to watch it. Simple as that.
Yeah, I think the concept probably like we saw in the movies, like, oh, we're trying to rebuild Nike, right? The basketball division. How do we get past Converse and whatnot, right? And you're trying to get Michael Jordan, unique style, but you got to get a meeting with the kid and you have to get past the parents and a Viola Davis. So it might not sound so exciting, but you have the concept of Michael Jordan and Nike and the NBA all wrapped around movie stars of a Matt Damon and also old movie stars or not as relevant anymore, but you know who they are and because they once were. So it's like all the other pieces are gonna make it exciting around a concept where it's like, oh, I'm just trying to talk to an 18-year or a 20-year-old kid.
That's like the gravitas of an Affleck and Damon because of the weight they carry. So that's a great point by you. And then alongside from that, like, can we expect any cameos whatsoever? Maybe some, not like actual cameos, but maybe like some actors playing famous basketball players. Like at this time, Converse they brought up. You think about Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, what they meant to the NBA and the NBA shoe industry. Do you think that we're going to get anything here, or is it going to be strictly related to the business aspect?
Well, if we're using the de-aging thesis here, then I don't think any cameos.
Yes, I agree with that. Good point. Yeah, because like obviously de-aging, that means like, okay, then now we're taking a risk here with multiple characters being de-aged. And if like you cast one person as Michael Jordan, you gotta cast these other people as these select characters. And
Exactly.
I don't think they're gonna be going to winning time and looking to cast like the same guy who's in winning time as Magic Johnson. Although that would be kind of interesting, to be
I
honest.
was
It's
thinking the
almost
same
like
thing.
it's like when they made the Tupac movie and they didn't change the guy who played BIG from Notorious. It's just like, okay, like you're just carrying over because that's who audiences know as like the movie version of BIG. But I think this is going to be, and it looks low budget, to be honest. When you look at
Yes.
like where they're shooting it, it looks like they're at a high school. Like it doesn't look like anything too special. I think the money can go through de-aging. I'm sticking to that take, Ricky Flex. Any other thoughts on Air before we wrap up the trailer roundup?
Yeah, I think we're saying a lot of pros, but a couple cons would be um this is gonna sound picky. Air is the name of the movie, but there's a subtitle. Courting a Legend. I don't like the
Oh, I didn't know
subtitle.
there was a subtitle.
The
That's a great
subtitle makes
point.
me nervous. It
Get
does.
rid of that. You have
Yeah,
time.
I think if you're gonna do it has to be Air Jordan. It can't be Air Courting a Legend. That makes me nervous.
Air
Um,
Jordan's better than Air.
yeah. I two other ones.
Get his name in there for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Another concern, trailer wise, they said a lot of jokes that would have been great first time in the movie. It seems like they're just trying to get relatable to the audience. So an example would be, what are we gonna call it? And it goes Air Jordan, and then like Ben Affleck's like maybe I'll like it later or something. There were a bunch of those throughout this trailer where I'm like, that's like what a not great movie would do because they know it's not great, but you're trying to relate to the audience and get you to see it because as an audience member seeing that trailer, you're like, oh, this is gonna be something I know about and it'll be funny and I can relate to it. So that makes me nervous too. And the final thing, I know Ben Affleck's directing it, so I have to trust him here. That's why it's third, but it's probably the biggest question mark in this movie, and it's the writer, first time writer, feature film writer, Alex Kunberry. So, uh, don't know anything about him. So it's not like I can't say it's a con because he's
Weird.
bad, but I just
It's
don't
weird.
know him. Yeah.
Because like Affleck and Damon are starring in the movie, Affleck directing, but they're not writing, and they're best known for writing Good Will Hunting.
Yeah. So
So do you think like they're very much hands on with the script then, helping out this writer because of that aspect, because it's a first time writer?
I would assume so, especially at Ben Affleck, because he's directing, but also maybe a little bit of Matt Damon because again he's one of the production studio heads or creators. So I think he would have some part in this.
And if like let's put on our podcast hats on, who has a better performance here, Affleck or Damon? Put your money on it.
So last duel, Affleck had the better of Damon. Damon wasn't great in that, but Damon was the star. I think this one, Damon will be the same, but I think Damon's gonna put in a Ford versus Ferrari performance here.
Me too. Yep.
It really does look like that. So I'm gonna go Damon, but the scene stealer's got to be Ben Affleck because it's Ben Affleck at the end of the day, and it's more fun.
And as much as I love the supporting cast of like Tucker, Wayans, Bateman, and Davis, like Affleck looking with the Jerry curl that he's got going on as Phil Knight, like you can't dismiss that. And
It
I think
works.
he's gonna really pull off the flashiness of a Phil Knight during this era. And Matt Damon, I couldn't agree more. He's gonna pull off the Ford versus Ferrari, this subdued, and the guy is like he's common man, that comes from like pretty much like middle class common folk and then goes on to like sign Michael Jordan. That's what I think he's like trying to give off right now, very much in the same vein.
And he's gonna put in a performance for his boy. His boy's directing this movie, Ben Affleck. He can't let him down. He can't.
You're right. And that's why I have high aspirations for this. And as we close out the trailer roundup, we have to go to a thermometer predictor. What is the Rotten Tomato score going to be for Air, Ricky Flicks? What are you thinking?
Oh man. I have to go high. But how high will I go for a first time writer and some of the corniness aspects here? How high will I go? I'll keep it subdued. I'll keep it in the 70s, and I'll go 70, 76.
Wow, I'm 10 points ahead of you. This is an 86 if I've ever seen one from a first trailer. The actors are there. The concept is there. But at the same time, it is Amazon. We don't like it's maybe not a relied upon studio at this point. It is streaming related, even though it's coming out in theaters. And this is like the debut of Affleck and Damon's new studio, I believe. Is that right? This is their debut.
Is it really? Okay.
Because I know they started a new one. They wanted to like make a more emphasis on like the power of like creatives and of directors, but that's why I think this is 86. I love everything about this movie thus far. I think the real hanging in the balance here is how they handle Michael Jordan himself. Because what if they don't show him at all? What does that do? Can't do that.
Yeah, they already showed it in the trailer. You can't really end the movie on that either. So yeah, I agree with you. It sounds like we're wrapping up here. So I've made it a point this year, every time we do a thermometer predictor, to keep a record of it.
Ooh.
All right.
This is smart.
So we've done Renfield, right? We haven't had a lot of good trailers come out.
What did we say for Renfield, by the way? Like just to remind the audience.
I already regret what I said, but I said 76. You said 73. Okay.
I kind of regret that too, but I like 73. I'm more comfortable than a 76. That's
I will say you might want to hold in your regret for this one I'm about to say. You people, the Jonah Hill Netflix movie. All right. You want to know do you know what you remembered saying?
Don't recall whatsoever. I know it's probably sub 50.
You said 58.
I did?
Yeah. And I said 38. And it's a 42. So I just want to say, I think this is the first time ever I beat you in either thermometer predictor or guessing a thermometer score.
I will say, Ricky, one of my best life skills is someone naming a movie and me knowing the Rotten Tomato like score immediately. It's crazy. I don't know if it's because of the website I'm on consistently, just like after we watch a movie, looking at reviews, like do my thoughts line up with their thoughts? Like what do I agree with, disagree with? I'm usually, and I also just know, like, even when I was younger in my formative years, before I was like a podcaster, I would look at Rotten Tomatoes, like Batman versus Superman came out. I remember constantly refreshing my Rotten Tomatoes to hope and pray that the score was going to go up. Guess what? It only went down. It was
Only went
terrible.
down.
It started, no, actually, it went up. It started at 26. I think it finished at 28.
Well, this time around, I'll take the victory here. Air courting a legend. We'll see.